Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Formula 1 2020 career mode here on the channel. Today we go to a brand new Grand Prix here for me, the Netherlands Grand Prix, a track that I've only done a few laps on in time trial and whatnot, so certainly excited to come into this one. Just from what I had done, it's definitely a track that I enjoy, so definitely looking forward to coming into this one now, as obviously last time out in the Chinese Grand Prix, things didn't quite go our way. Didn't even get in the points there in the Chinese Grand Prix. Unfortunately, we had some contact with Kevin Magnussen on lap 1, which really put us back because we got wing damage out of that, and we had to come to the pit lane there at the end of the first lap. And our teammate Lance Stroll, he came through to finish in the 12th position. But we come through here into qualifying here for the Dutch Grand Prix here in the Netherlands now, as we get ready to go and make our qualifying attempt. So last time out as well in China, we didn't even get through Q1. So that was definitely a concern, but we've done some R&D to the car. The car is better coming into this Grand Prix, so definitely have to expect way more out of it than we did in the last episode. So we come through to our qualifying attempt here in the Dutch GP down for our first lap. Turn 1, I did not nail it at all here, so that was already a mistake on this first lap of qualifying here, but definitely a blast to drive around this racetrack. It is so much fun. But we come through to the end of our first attempt, and I only went P18, a big cause for concern for myself here in the Dutch GP qualifying. So I immediately just went straight into a second lap to see what I could do. I got through this corner here on turns 1 much better than, of course, we came through the left-hander there. Got through there pretty decently, but we come through out of the final corner here, heading down at the front stretch, and we are in the green. We go over a tenth better, but only P16. Not good enough. So immediately I come to the pit lane and realize that we have barely enough time to get out on track. Put a fresh set of tires on. I felt way more confident at this point, getting some more experience on the track. So we head back out. I got past the line with only a couple seconds left in the timer, so we were very lucky to cross the line and get to run this final lap here in qualifying, and I got around here so much better on this lap, already over 2/10 in the green here, about closing in towards halfway or so throughout this lap, even up to 3/10 there as we come through the left-hander. So we come through down the front straightaway, and we would make it into Q2, as I actually was able to get up to P11 there with that lap at the end of Q1. Now, unfortunately, we had to go through 2 sets of tires, which was very unfortunate. We did beat out our teammate Lance Stroll as well. Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc were P1 and P2 at the end of Q1. So we come through into Q2, though, for our qualifying attempt again now, as I always wait till about under 10 minutes or so to go and make an attempt in qualifying here as we come through. Lance Stroll was up in P11 at this point, so currently outside of that top 10 now as we come through. This is the best part of the track right here. I love coming through this area. You're going so fast, and it's just, you're right on the edge the whole time. So it's definitely a blast now as we come through into this little tricky section now. But it was a decent lap we had going. Wasn't the greatest lap here as we go down through the final corner now, down this front stretch one more time, coming through to cross the line. Only go P13, so I decided to actually try and make another lap, but I went slower. So that means I could not get into the Q3, unfortunately, along with my teammate of Lance Stroll. So we qualified in P14, unfortunately, here for the Dutch Grand Prix. So definitely some work to do in the race, but now we're going to get ready to go green.
It was 35 years ago that the late great Niki Lauda took his 25th and final Grand Prix win here at Zandvoort. He came from 10th on the grid to beat his McLaren teammate Alain Prost by just 0.2 of a second. Well, Zandvoort is a very different circuit today, of course, but still one with an incredible legacy. And we're going to add to that. Welcome along to the 2020 Dutch Grand Prix. A lap of this short 2.6-mile Zandvoort circuit features 14 corners, 10 to the right and 4 to the left. The main straight is 678 meters long and heads into turn 1, the Tarzan corner. With DRS down the main straight into the braking zone, that could be the best overtaking opportunity on the track. Alongside me to discuss all the action today is Anthony Davidson. Thanks for joining us, Ant. And tell me, you were down in the pit lane earlier. How do you think the track conditions are today?
Well, it's looking a bit cold out there, if I'm honest. These tyres have quite a narrow operating window in terms of the temperatures they need to extract the best grip. So with a cold track surface, it's going to be harder to keep those temperatures up, which will lead to lower grip and maybe more mistakes.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Verstappen, Alexander Albon, and Sainz. Norris, Kvyat, Ocon, and Daniel Ricciardo. Leclerc, the rookie, Pierre Gasly, and Magnussen. Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, George Russell, and Nicholas Latifi. Grosjean, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
All right, there you saw the pre-race. Charles Leclerc gets a 10 grid place penalty, as well as our teammate of Lance Stroll got a penalty. He will be starting at the very back of the grid here in the Dutch Grand Prix now. So definitely going to go with the one-stop strategy here from the soft tire over to the hard tire, and hopefully we can make it work in our favor, and hopefully we get some points here today in the Dutch Grand Prix. I did actually go into the race director here to check to see if the other drivers were going with the same strategy, because I actually wasn't sure, because I was like, okay, we could definitely make the medium to hard work as well, and I thought maybe it would actually give us a little more speed towards the end of that first run, but everyone pretty much was doing the soft tire outside of the top 10, so we would stick with the soft strategy here to the hard tire as we get ready to go green now for the Dutch Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc, they're down in P11, Daniel Ricciardo up there in that 10th spot now as we are underway for the formation lap now. Just so excited I was to actually get going for this race, because this track is so much fun to drive, and I was very excited to get going green now as we get ready to go here. Now on the grid is our teammate Lance Stroll. Unfortunately takes the grid from the very back of the field now as we're ready though to go green for the Dutch GP here in the Netherlands at Zandvoort now, as it's Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton on the front row now as it's lights out, and we are underway for the Dutch Grand Prix. Vettel there in P3 trying to have a chance maybe to attack Lewis Hamilton for that second position as we dive down into turns 1, but Bottas, Hamilton get away P1 and P2. Very clean start up front now, not very chaotic now as we get through from P12 here, but now we lose the spot to Pierre Gasly now as we're actually going to fight back up the right hand side here down into this very banked left hand hairpin now. As we come through out of there, we actually take the spot back from Pierre Gasly and hold on to P12 here for the initial start. So I believe for the first time this season, we actually did not lose a position on the start of the race. So very happy that we finally got that kind of checked off now as we come through the right-hander closing in on the back of Charles Leclerc. But I noticed one thing as well, that the AI seem to have a pretty tough time passing other AI drivers on this racetrack now as we come through the left-hander right there up to the gearbox of Leclerc in that Ferrari, who obviously has a lot more speed in that car than he does in real life now. As we go down towards the right-hander, Gasly sends it up the inside there, gets on the attack now, but we are actually able to defend him and hold on to that spot now as he's under attack from the Alfa Romeo of Kimi Raikkonen here as we come through the penultimate corner, trying to close up on the back now again of Charles Leclerc, as well as Daniel Ricciardo, who runs in that 10th spot just in front of him as Bottas comes through to complete this first and opening lap now, as we're going to follow through as well in that 12th spot as we head down into turns 1 here on lap 2. A bit of a lockup there from somebody in front of us now, could not tell what car that was from, but we closed up right on the back of Leclerc. Then on lap 2, coming to lap 3 now, Leclerc goes up the inside of Daniel Ricciardo trying to make a move and take over the 10th position now as DRS has indeed been activated, but Leclerc cannot complete the pass on Daniel Ricciardo as he defends Leclerc in the Ferrari for that 10th position. So very unfortunate that Leclerc can't seem to make anything happen now as we get on to the DRS here on now lap 4, just trying to stick with these guys. And you can see it was AlphaTauri of Daniel Kvyat in front of these two drivers, and he was just holding up Ricciardo as well as Leclerc, and that was when I was really noticing that the AI were going to have a tough time passing each other now, as I had a lot of oversteer there on lap 5 out of that left-hand hairpin. Now as Gasly was putting the pressure on myself right on my gearbox here as we come through this very fast windy section here on that right-hander, but we are able to stay ahead pretty well there of Gasly now as we come through the right-hander, just continuing to try and stay connected with the back of the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc as well as the Renault of Daniel Ricciardo there now as we come through the left-hander. So Kvyat just really, he wasn't moving out of the way, and that was of course keeping the two drivers behind him put, and of course allowing me to stay connected to these guys. We come through to lap 8, same situation now as we though had opened up a tiny little bit of a gap, about half a second to Pierre Gasly as I close right up on the back there of Leclerc in the hairpin now as I'm just trying to continue to do what I can. I wasn't able to get the speed to actually be able to fight Leclerc and pass him, but I was just able to stick with him at times, as well as Ricciardo and Kvyat of course now as we come through now on lap 9. At this point DRS activated, but there you see Ricciardo is close enough to the back of Kvyat. He's going to make a move on the left hand side now as we go down towards the chicane, and there was a bit of a lockup from Kvyat now as we're still wheel to wheel through the corner heading down towards the penultimate corner, still wheel to wheel now as Leclerc is ready to pounce if there's an opportunity opportunity as Ricardo on the left-hand side is going to try and make that pass clear, but no, Kvyat fights back on the right-hand side. Myself and Leclerc, we're going to have DRS, and so should Daniel Ricciardo. No, Kvyat has it now as we go down this front straightaway. Leclerc to the left-hand side of Ricardo and goes by both of these guys as we get up the left-hand side as well of Kvyat now as they're still side-by-side in front of us, but Ricardo had a lot of oversteer there on the exit of turn 1, and I'm able to get past as well, and all of a sudden, we move up into the 10th position here in the Dutch GP now as Ricardo is able to get past Kvyat as well, so it's now the AlphaTauris running P12 and P13, but as soon as Leclerc got ahead, he drove away, but now he had actually come into the pit lane. I decided, with the pit window open, we're going to stretch out this as long as we can, and that way we'll be able to fight harder on those hard tires, but Alexander Albon actually had come into the pit lane, and he would drive right on by me. I let him go into turns 1, and once he ran me down, Daniel Ricciardo had still been on the track with myself as well, not making a pit stop yet, but our teammate Lance Stroll, he had come through now with 21 laps to go, still staying out here, but I decided I could see with the tire where there 62% on the left front, 61 on the left rear, we have to come in. So on lap 16 here, we do come into the pit lane, and oh my goodness, you are hauling into the pit lane here in the Dutch GP. I mean, you're going so fast around this whole racetrack now as we come through into our pit box, and no problems really at all now as we exit. It was, I believe, a 2.7 second pit stop if I'm not mistaken here as we get back onto the track now, heading down into this first turn. Ocon and Leclerc just in front of us now as we come through out of turns 1. I actually crossed over the pit line. We only get a warning. That was my first time coming out and entering the pit lane as well here, so just obviously the inexperience, not really knowing how to do it at this track, definitely came into a factor right there. But I started to run down Esteban Ocon there in the Renault now with less than 20 laps to go. Leclerc had opened up the gap to nearly 3 seconds at this point between himself and Esteban Ocon here as we head down into the chicane. Max Verstappen was flying around this track at this point here now as we come through using that DRS, trying to close in on Ocon, but to my surprise, I just wasn't quite able to get to the gearbox of Ocon and be able to put the attack on him and fight for that 8th position here as we dive down into turns 1. Verstappen, he had now come into the pit lane. He was running us down very quickly. I knew it was just a matter of laps, of a few laps until he was able to get to my back gearbox now as we come through, heading down towards that penultimate corner. You saw some oversteer there from Esteban Ocon trying to keep the pressure on him, but now Verstappen had gotten into the mix now on lap 23. I'm gonna, of course, not let him go right here. I didn't really want to give up the spot right here and give up all that time to Esteban Ocon, but I knew it was coming. But to my surprise, we actually stretched out the gap between myself and Verstappen down into turns 1 here on lap 24 with the DRS. I also had the ERS on overtake, but oversteer from Esteban Ocon right there now, and that closes us right up on the back of him here as we head down into this hairpin, but of course not really able to attack him there as he did a good job defending us there into that hairpin. So we have to once again wait for the right moment, but then Verstappen is right on the back of me. I didn't even enable DRS right here. I just let him go there as he actually locks up into that chicane and now takes over that 9th spot as we fade into P10. But of course, Verstappen, he's able to get to the back of now Esteban Ocon, but just like we saw earlier, the AI having some issues passing other AI drivers now. Now only 10 laps to go though in the Dutch Grand Prix now as we come through now on the exit of that left-hander here on lap 27, getting that DRS activated. Now as Verstappen though attacks to the left-hand side of Esteban Ocon into the chicane now, and they make contact, and around goes Esteban Ocon in the Renault as he goes spinning. Caution, of course, a localized yellow flag, no safety car needed for that, or virtual safety car, but here's a replay on your screen. Verstappen goes up the left-hand side, Ocon hits the curb, hits Verstappen, and just like Brazil in 2018, Ocon and Verstappen clash now, so a little bit of history, of course, between them two drivers, and it carries over into today's episode now, as of course we would just continue to just do our thing now. Of course, that takes one competitor out now as Ocon clearly had the speed to fight with us. Now as Kevin Magnussen is out of the session with 5 laps to go, the safety car with 5 laps to go has come out here in the Dutch GP, and this is really going to shake things up as you see a replay right there. This is the only angle I could get. Hamilton runs into the back of a mechanical failured car of Kevin Magnussen. You see right here from the T-cam of Hamilton, he just drove right into the back of him, picks up a whole bunch of wing damage. Of course, safety car out, like I said, and we have to pass the safety car now here from P9, but now no pit stops necessary for me. Hamilton, surprisingly, stays out with that wing damage. We will now run down the field with only 3 laps to go, and now the safety car is coming in this lap, which is going to leave a 2-lap dash here for the finish of this race here in the Dutch GP. Valtteri Bottas, though, in command as the green flag is back over right on the back of Verstappen. There is lap cars in the mix, and I knew right then it was really going to spice things up now as Gasly tries to go up the inside of me. We haul right on past the Williams there as we come through turns 1, almost going 3 wide now. As we get to the left-hand side of a Renault, we're sideways there, we hang on. Then I think that was Alfa Romeo backing out of it now as we get to the right-hand side of Max Verstappen through the hairpin, and now we put him under attack. There you see George Russell there on the left-hand side. He's slow, so Verstappen has to wait. Myself and Gasly go right on by as this has been a very chaotic start here on with the restart to this race here after that safety car. Now as we come through, getting close to the back now of Carlos Sainz as we come through the right-hander now, trying to hold off, of course, Pierre Gasly as well as our teammate Lance Stroll, unfortunately, is another driver a lap down. You see him there over on the right-hand side. Giovinazzi, Stroll is up in front somewhere there. Now as we come through out of the corner, Grosjean, Giovinazzi on the right, Grosjean on the left. Now as we pass Giovinazzi there, Stroll right there, we nearly run into him. Now as we get it up the inside of Carlos Sainz, now very close calls here as we come through out of the corner. Grosjean, holds up Carlos Sainz, and now we pass Sainz and take over 7th place here, coming to the final lap in the Dutch GP. And finally, things calmed down here as we went down into turns 1. But of course, now I'm trying to run down the other McLaren teammate of Sainz, of Lando Norris, here on this final lap now, as that was a crazy restart, of course, with the lap traffic being involved here now as we come through the right-hander. So just trying to bring it home at this point, but I was doing what I could to run down Lando Norris. Didn't, unfortunately, quite have enough time to run him down. I felt like I actually had the pace here, though, on this final run to get to him. Charles Leclerc, they're up there in P5, only P5 for Leclerc as we come through out of that penultimate corner, down into the final corner. Valtteri Bottas wins again here in the Dutch GP. We come through down the front straightaway to cross the line to finish P7.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Ferme.
Race then on a circuit that demands complete concentration, but they persevered to take the win here today. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Without a doubt, the safety car changed everything today. The key to their success was keeping calm and reacting to the situation quickly. We've seen teams in the past throw away wins because they were too hesitant, but here they were decisive, and that's allowed them to take the advantage.
Now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes.
All right, there you have it from the Dutch Grand Prix. What a finish it was here. The final few laps were crazy, with the lap traffic, of course, being in the mix of Grosjean, Stroll, Giovinazzi, Raikkonen, Latifi, and all of them. Ocon actually finished the lap down, surprisingly. I'm not sure exactly why. I guess, I honestly don't know. Maybe he got stuck or something. But we now move up to 9th in the points. We have 2 more points than our teammate of Stroll. So now for 4 of the 5 races this season, we have finished in the points now, though. But Valtteri Bottas continues to have an incredible start to the season. Hamilton's really going to have to pick it up in the end. Of course, he could have had a chance maybe to fight Bottas for the win there, but he picked up that wing damage under that safety car, obviously, with the contact with Kevin Magnussen. But of course, we do a little bit more R&D here. I'm going to do a chassis upgrade. This is only the first one we've done, and the last time I tried to do it, it failed. So hopefully this time it will be successful going into the next episode, where we will be going to the Spanish Grand Prix, a track that I've always had some solid success at in the past Formula 1 games, especially when it actually comes to league racing and stuff for online. So I'm excited for that one there. But as always, if you guys enjoyed this episode, you know what to do. Bottas has won 4 of the 5 races so far at the start the season, so it's very good looking for him. And obviously, guys, though, in the next one, have a great day, everybody.